Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Paula here.
And Sam, what's up, beautiful humans?
Howdy, guys. So today, this is going to be a little different. We oftentimes we go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But today, I think we're going to do a little more me sharing. But why don't you talk about where we're going today? What are we up to?
A little less banter and a little more
There
energy.
will probably still be banter. I mean, I don't think we can.
Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
Well, we want to talk specifically about personal growth or personal development work. And you and I were trying to come up with sort of our tagline for the show, but it kept evolving into other things. Some people call this personal enlightenment or spiritual work. Some people just call it the work. Some people call it personal development. How do you see this kind of work?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about like the joking with it. The line was going to be personal development, ... the path to enlightenment, ... Sort of, or like kind of, and
Yeah.
it's like, it's, you could call it rediscovering who you are. I think that's really what, as I do, I mean, how many years I've been doing this? Probably 2008, 2009, something, no, maybe something like that. Probably coming up on 15 years of learning more about who I am, right? I mean, I was definitely, I mean, like you, I love studying, love learning, love growth. And I find that some of the most effective time I have spent is learning about like I spent a lot of time, I got an MBA, like I know a lot about business and marketing and SEO and, all that stuff. And that was great. That makes me effective in running businesses and things like that. And the running of my life, the the human being that's
Exactly.
behind all this, and
Well,
as you,
isn't that a weird thought?
yeah,
How much people invest time, money, energy, education, experience, jobs, professional life, whatever, in understanding the world and how it works in business and how do I make money and how little time they spend on the knowing of the self.
yeah, yeah.
What's up with that? Why are we teaching that in school? What the heck's going on around here, lady?
Well, you're just triggering for me. It's so funny. You should bring it to this, that this reminded me. So I was teaching business planning and how to start a business. I taught that for years in our local, and when I first started teaching how to start a business, write a business plan, get your business off the ground through our local nonprofit. I was handed a book of work, like here's the material, if you will. I was like, oh, okay, here's all the material. And quickly I was like, we have to expand this, like this is like kindergarten for where I want to take these classes, so like boom. And by the third year, it was like all my content, we rebranded and all this stuff. And I was like, ah. But what I really got is just by the doing of teaching, i.e., not every night, but every week as I was teaching the classes, I was on my own personal development journey. This was actually kind of not new in that part, but I was newer, if you will. So I was I was on a big trajectory, right? Meaning like several times a year, I was traveling for tons of miles, maybe across the country, other countries, whatever, learning about myself. And I would weave that in. It just naturally, it was something I couldn't help. And I found that my students were more curious about that. I mean,
Yeah.
they would
And how to
light up.
write a friggin' business plan.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Boring.
go figure, right? But the more I wove in what I was learning, and I just teach them little nuggets about themselves and things like that, they still, I've run into them today, and they still thank me for some of those things that I shared, not just about, starting their business, but how to be the person behind the business too, right?
Well, you are giving them permission
Mm.
to explore things called themselves. Like, what is it that goes on in my brain? What kind of person do I want to be in the world? Never mind what kind of business would I start and attach myself to, but like, why? What's my intention for my life? What's my intention and my purpose and all of those kind of things? When I started way back in the day, it was called leadership training.
Yeah.
Personal development, that was so woo-woo. Listen, the hippies were doing that in the bushes, okay? I don't know what was going on over there, or they were psychedelics and things like that. But I was more in this traditional vein in schooling and whatever, and it was,
Leadership,
And
which
it
is
was
amazing.
kind of radical, by the way, to see women like starting to get into leadership.
Yeah.
And then it took quite a long time before it was women in leadership. Oh, women, like
Yeah. Okay,
So
well,
bizarre.
we're
How old
dating,
am I?
we're
What the hell's
dating
going on?
ourselves, but yeah.
But in those spaces
Yeah,
is where I first found, hey, this is personal development work,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
I'm thinking about myself as a human being,
yeah,
not just how to lead other people. Okay, that
yeah.
might serve a purpose in business or in community or whatever, but like, who the hell is this person?
Yeah, and
You got to
leadership is
start
a
there.
part of it. Leadership really takes a look at like the human being, right? Like how are you being in your business or your group or your team or whatever, right? And leadership is, I'd say leadership is self-leadership, right? You know, you're
Exactly.
self-managing, you're self-leading. So you're obviously learning things about,
Well, it's supposed to be. You can't
yeah,
lead other people if you have no idea how the hell to lead your own life. I mean, how many of those jobs have you had, by the way, where you worked for that person?
yeah,
Wait, you're in charge of me?
yeah.
That's chaos.
Yeah, for
Anyway,
sure, for
we
sure.
digress. Let's
Okay.
get back
All
on the
right.
train of you and your
Let's
personal
go.
growth
Yeah.
work.
Well, I hope
So
that
you
helps.
started many moons ago
Yeah,
and you've done a few different things.
yeah, one of the things you were asking me is like, the modalities and things like that, right? And
Mhm.
so I would just share a couple of things that I've done over the years. It's my personal growth has looked a little bit like my health and fitness journey, right? Or my
Okay.
training journey, right? So I could say that, I started out with cardio on treadmills and stuff, lifting a little bit of weights here and there, just on my own, da da da, whatever. And then got into more advanced, taking classes and getting more improved and then finding focus. And then, oh, there's a race. Oh, I'll do some 10Ks and half marathons and then Spartans and then it just really got to elite level. It's like, okay, I'm really growing as a human being. And there's no secret that that's probably the personal development behind that was driving a lot of that being the best physical shape I could be as well, right?
So that's interesting to think about. That natural progression makes sense as you compare these different aspects of this humaning that you're up to in the
Yeah,
world. But
yeah,
also, it started with a basic curiosity.
yeah, yeah,
All of these things, a curiosity of, can I do this better? Can I feel
yeah,
better? Can I perform better? Can
yeah,
I think better? Can I be more fully myself, more fully evolved? Can I be
yeah.
more impactful in the world? A curiosity, right?
I was just going to say that word curiosity as you were sharing that is what comes to mind most. So where I was when it started was 20 years down a dark hole of addiction. So I was not living my best life, my best self, and it was just kind of like turning the pages of the calendar. Like that's about
Survival.
how it felt, and not even great. There was all this shame that I was living with, masking it naturally, and then personal. So how I was entreed into this, I met this woman who's now been a longtime friend, and she had done something called the Landmark Forum, which we've talked about before. And she just talked so freely, and I could just see expression. Like I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to just like I literally said, I don't know what you how are you how do you know the things that you know or whatever, however that I'm so steeped in
Why
it
are you
now.
so wise?
Yeah, she's like,
That's what you want to say.
I was like, "You're awesome. How did this
Exactly.
come about?" And she's like, "Well, I did this thing 6 months ago called Landmark Farm." I was like, "I don't know what it is, but I'm going. I'm going to that thing." And that's all I knew. I was like, she has her life working and she is just this learning about herself. And I had my eyes opened in one weekend. Like just the consciousness veil was lifted. Let's just say that. Like I literally stopped living in the asleepness of the dream called like a life that I thought I was just a human being. And I was like, oh, there's something else going on here. Wait a minute, right? Once you open that, it's like popping champagne. You can't get the cork back in. It's like, all right, we're doing this thing. And it just started to grow my life, change my life, improve my life in so many ways because I was transforming on the inside out. I just was like, okay, more of this, please, more of this. And I would take different, so Landmark was a body of work that I did for a number of years. Then there was a guy named T. Harv Eker and Peak Potentials. That was kind of like a Tony Robbins version before Tony was as global as he is now. He kind of was in a hiatus, or I don't know what he was doing, but he wasn't as big as he is now.
Mhm.
And so I was doing all these workshops, especially because this was a West Coast base. So it was California based. So I did a lot through him for probably 5 years, traveling 4 or 5, 6 times a year.
So workshops like going to an intensive on site for a weekend or a week,
And
a day?
workshop is a gentle word.
You mean a birth
I,
canal?
oh yeah, there was a few of
Some
them
of
that
them
were
you've done are
there,
hardcore.
there were a few of them that were in ballrooms, but what I loved the most were the ones that were, I just call them adventurous camps, let's call them, so sleeping overnight in, various places, sometimes one time it was in British Columbia. We camped for a week under a beautiful,
Oh,
glacier, and we would have the workshop would be in a beautiful kind of, not tent, but yeah, maybe it was a tent. Maybe it was a really large, 500-person tent or something like that. And we were in and out of nature, and each one had its own experience. There's one that was warrior. It wasn't so gentle.
glamorous?
It wasn't so gentle or glamorous. There were some, it was a little hard knocks getting those breakthroughs, right? Getting those
Mhm,
breakthroughs. And
mhm.
I freaking loved it. I just fed off of it. I could just see in myself I was a better human when I went back into my life. I was just like, not only was that like, I mean, there were people that I would meet and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we've been to Warrior like 3 or 4 times." And they brought their kids and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, "Yeah, this is our vacation." And I was like, "Oh my God, people do
What?
this like as their vacation, because it's
Wow.
when you not like you get addicted like cold addict, but like it just feels so good. It's like sitting and just drinking Mai Tais and laying on the beach when you could have this wonderful expansive and connection and people and crying and growing and laughing. And it's like, give me a break. Yeah. Yeah. So
Mhm.
we just yeah. So I didn't do it as vacations, but I bought packages and did a lot of that work. And then I did start getting into Tony Robbins work
Mhm.
and then just little things here and there, little other finding certain teachers, I mean, there's lots of modalities, you might say, and how you
Well,
can.
how does one even start to look for things like this? Like, what are you
Mhm.
Googling? You
Right.
know? I mean, life transformation 101. Well, I don't even know. And I've been to some workshops and done some of these things, nowhere near. I mean, literally like, 1% compared to what you have done. Um, and I found them through friends and, referrals or whatever. Or I read a book. I mean, because usually that's kind of my way of finding it. Like I hear about an author or I read a book or I hear a podcast or whatever, and then I go down my rabbit holes appropriately and off into my realms. But how about you? How are you finding these?
That's it. You hit
Okay.
the nail on the head. I have a feeling most of them are, I don't know, either that I, for, people do it in different directions. They write the book and then, oh my God, that people want to like have so much of their time. So they hold workshops or they do these camps or maybe vice versa. They're in camps and they're like, I want to get more people in. So they write books. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
yeah, pretty much each. So T. Harv Eker had a book that I read called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And I was like, this is great. And I shared it with a friend and he's like, this is great. Oh my God, he's got workshops. Let's go. And then off we went. Right. And then Tony Robbins, a little hard to not see him. I think he's doing a lot of advertising these days. So
Mhm.
finding
I
him.
followed Debbie Ford for a while, and then
Ah,
Caroline Mice,
Mace,
Mace, yeah,
Caroline
amazing.
Mace.
Saw her
Yes.
at a workshop one time that was mind blowing, and then went to a few other little like like then you meet people through that and kind of go off down that,
That's exactly it.
or
Well,
join groups, join
and
groups.
and I think some of it too is, depending on what your work. So there was a period where after I got divorced that I was like wanting to learn about relationships,
Okay,
right?
there you
And
go.
so
Yeah,
I
so
picked.
a focus,
Hmm.
or a focus of your
Hmm.
life, one area you're looking for growth. Got it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So there we go. Yeah.
Oh, look at you on this journey to become a whole person.
I
What?
know, I know,
What's
kind of,
going on
right?
right
That's why
now?
I'm like the path to enlightenment, sort of, but getting
And
there
I think
closer.
everybody innately has a curiosity in themselves.
Yeah.
They, that's just what humans are.
Yeah.
We all have it. It's just a matter of you gave yourself permission to feed the curiosity and pursue
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
because you understood the value not only of yourself to invest the time, energy, resources into this, but the value of that growth and how it would extrapolate into how you impact the world.
Most definitely. I think one of the words that I want to double click on in that is the investment,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So, in some ways, big time commitment, big financial commitment, And with that comes, I would say, the reward is if you play at the big game, then you get your life, like what you want on the outside, you get that. I have better health than I've ever had. Relationships are deeper, more meaning in my life,
Mm.
coaching, transformative ways, just being up to stuff, right? And so you can't just read I mean, some people can read a book and be, instantly transformed and like change their life and stuff like that. But for me, the reason why, and Tony would say that a lot of these workshops and stuff is because of the immersion. So
Mm,
when you
mhm.
immerse yourself in a workshop, whether you're in a relationship workshop or you want to be a better writer or, you're overcoming an addiction or something like that, the immersion in the people, like the friendships that are created out of these, the community, the camaraderie, the ability to show up at a place and you're like, these people are kind of insane like me. They enjoy, like they love jumping up and down and growing themselves. And you just have conversations here, like, what are you up to? And, I mean, one of the paths that this took me down is I went to a Tony Robbins workshop, signed up for a package of his stuff. I looked at the dates. So he had these classes classes, like I said, they're more than that, big, whatever. And at one point, two of them you could do back to back in Fiji. And I love to travel. I was like, double click,
Wow.
my, God damn, I'm going to Fiji. Can you imagine the people I met in Fiji from around the world that are taking his things? I mean, just
Totally.
exposure to human beings that aren't just the cut from, just cut from a different cloth. Everybody's different, everybody's unique, and it's like, what's your story? How did you get here? What are you doing? How are you? Yeah, just fascinating. And these people, depending on what you're searching for, up to, like I said, it could be relationship, it could be your health, it could be your business, whatever you want to grow.
Mhm.
And we could look at this as masterminds too, because
Yeah.
oftentimes masterminds not just teach you about business, but how to be a better business owner, if you will. So
Mhm.
get in those circles, get in those conversations, get with those people that are your people, like you say, finding your people, right?
Well, a lot of people would be really intimidated by some of the things you just said, right? Because you're going into a space where you don't
Yeah,
know anybody and you feel vulnerable and should I be here and all the head games that people might be trapped in.
yeah,
And what I would add to the fact that this is an opportunity for meeting all those people, expanding your mind, making connections, going to cool places, doing life-changing things. What I kind of like about the work is that when you go into these things, like these immersion programs that are out of your normal everyday routine, your identity, the story of your identity is swept away.
yeah,
You walk into a room, whether there's two of you or 200 or 2,000, whatever.
yeah,
I don't know these people. They
yeah,
don't know me. I've never
yeah,
met them before. I
yeah,
freaking love that. That's
yeah,
incredibly powerful and liberating because none of the labels, wife, mother, boss, this, that, whatever, all the things that people know me to be in the, nope. They're just
hmm
like, who's that lady over there? Why is she so loud?
yeah.
What's she
And,
doing?
and
I'm
you could
curious
tell
about her.
people what you want about
Or
yourself.
tell them nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
You could
Like,
have a completely
hmm
internal experience, even though you're part of that. You don't have to
hmm
be all up in out of your seat doing the things.
hmm hmm
Or you could be doing that and expressing yourself in a way you've never given yourself permission to do before. Oh,
Yeah. And I would share from, so I guess it seems natural and normal to me because I've done it for so long now. But you're right. The first few that I walked into, oh my God, like sit me in the back of the room. Don't look at me. Let me just,
totally,
I mean, you're
totally.
right. You're totally right. It was like, raise your hand. No, thank you. I'll just be taking notes over here. I'm sure that's how I thought the Landmark Forum was going to go. Is like, I'll just
Mhm.
take some notes and, no, like from every experience, you're right. I didn't realize this. I throw myself into the immersion because I know the value of the growth, right? It's just
Mhm.
like training. Like if I go to the gym and I just look around, look at the weights, go, oh, this is a cool place. Look at all these people working out. And yeah, that's what a fitness class looks like. I could be, from afar, knowing what fitness is, seeing it, watching it take place, or I could get up to something. I could get on a damn treadmill. I could get in a class. I could like lift some things and go, oh, look at my body. Oh, and
Yeah.
have the transformation show up because I participated, So I remember there's one that I did. This scared the crap out of me because I don't like being in a big group and like speak, I like speaking in front of the group, but like, oh, raise your hand and tell us about a time. And I was like,
Mm.
I literally told myself, I was like, because I had been doing this work, and I said, okay, I'm going to raise my hand anytime they said, can I get a volunteer? And I was
Mm.
like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I wanted growth. I just challenged myself. I
Exactly.
said, I want some growth. And I'll be damn, like literally the first time I raised my hand, they called on me. I was like, oh, damn. But I'm so glad I did. And then I got that muscle and that fear out of the way. And I was like, raising my
Uh-huh.
hand, raise my hand, raise my hand. I was like, I didn't die. Nobody got
Exactly.
hurt. Actually,
Exactly.
I learned some things. And what I came to find out, and I see this now, is when you can work one on one from a person from the stage, you're getting such powerful coaching. Like, good
Hmm.
God, raise your hand. It's like an
Hmm.
opportunity to
Hmm.
have,
Priceless.
yeah, walk out a different person. So I was like, well, why wouldn't, yeah. So I shifted it instead of, oh, I don't want the attention on me to, I want to be a better human. I'm paying a lot of money. I'm investing a lot of time. Yeah, let's do this. Show me something I don't see.
Well, a lot of the growth comes in being seen and heard
Yeah.
and in liberating yourself from this story you have continued to tell yourself of, what I have to say isn't important, or what I had to did or said or whatever in the circumstances is embarrassing and shameful, or I feel too guilty, or I'm embarrassed, or whatever. It's
Hmm.
not valuable. The group doesn't want to hear me, blah, 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 blah. All the
Hmm.
shenanigans, people's
Hmm.
evil twin goes on in their head,
Yeah.
and so when you open your mouth and you just put it out there
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
everybody responds in a positive,
You're like,
connected way,
hello.
you're like,
I didn't
oh.
die. I didn't die. Look at that. And people actually often would come up to me or people
Mhm.
afterward and be like, thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that. Like,
Hmm.
like I'm like you, or I heard something about what you shared, or that reminds me of my sister, and wow, I really got her in a different way than, or my wife or something, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a gift when you're working. And the other thing I just was thinking about as you were sharing about something else, I wanted to just step back for a second. You said, "How do I find all these things?" I was like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, you sort of follow the rabbit hole of your interest.
Hmm.
Like, what are you just interested in? What are you curious
Or
about?"
of your suffering.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Where is the pain or where is the
Yes.
curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, like, and
Start
that's
there.
yeah, and so like some of the things I'm just curious, or people, yeah, like you said, people share a book with you, or hey, have you heard about this, or whatnot, especially if your circles are expanded and they cross multi dimensions and
Hmm.
stuff. People bring things into your awareness, like, oh, like a couple things that I know about now. Like I had friends who were card readers, tarot card readers.
Hmm.
Never thought in a million years I'd be reading tarot cards. Now I'm
Hmm.
like, I love it. I read tarot cards every day. It's like, look at me, I'm a tarot card reader, and
Exactly.
studying astrology and the power of learning beyond just your horoscope. Like, oh, for gosh sakes, right? But like really, what is going on with these planets of ours and these transits and all these, interesting things. And after doing psychedelics, understanding sacred geometry is kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So what if like on a macro level in our tiny little galaxy here, we have a thing called these planets that could be part of that sacred geometry, and it has something to do with some things. And then
Mhm.
human
Mhm.
design and the study of,
Yeah,
um,
that's fascinating.
yeah, yeah, that's something that's come more online new. I'll say it again slowly. Human design, and then the work of Gene Keys, which is Richard Rudd, and that was introduced to me. A friend gave me a book. She's like, "Hey, I thought you might enjoy this," and I was like, I don't know, I have no idea what this is." And then it was like, "Bing," or an app somebody tells you about. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's, be in the curiosity, and some people, it's body work, very physical, right? So
Mhm.
you do a lot of the body work and, the rigor of endurance training and growing yourself in that dimension. And then there's yoga and there's somatic practices. There's like yesterday I had
Somatic therapies are
therapy.
fascinating. Yeah.
Amazing. The
Mhm.
things that we're discovering about how the brain is the body
Exactly.
is the brain, like, oh my God, like all this somatic work, this body work that just you think you're getting a massage or you think you're getting some cranial sacral. It's like,
Nope.
hello. Yeah. So, yeah.
So it starts with curiosity sometimes, well, from my experience or people I've seen or know well, like started from a place of suffering and
Yeah.
trying to understand the suffering
Yeah.
and the self-imposed suffering.
Getting yourself better,
And then
like,
understanding, oh, yeah, I can heal, I have the power to heal that. And
yeah.
then, oh, now I understand different aspects about myself. What else can I heal? Where else can I find peace? And then where
Mhm.
can I find growth? Which are different things at different times.
And I think what I have learned on this arc of discovery of myself, and I continue, like I would tell you the things that I'm up to now on
Oh,
discovering
God,
about
now I know.
myself,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
It's like, so I can share with you that when I went into the Landmark Forum, I didn't go there saying, oh, I'm going to cure my eating disorder, but I did, right? And you sometimes don't know, like, you can think you're going there for one thing and get something else as well,
Totally.
right? So, like, like relationships, like, oh, I'm going to go learn how to fix men.
Or be a
Yeah,
better partner, blah, blah, blah.
yeah, something like that. And
Mhm.
it's like a lot of it just points back to the self, points back to the self, points back to the self. You're like, oh, I guess I'm the thing. Yep.
I think
Okay.
people go into those and say, how am I going to fix that person?
Exactly.
You need to go to this with me because you be broken. We got to
Yeah.
fix you. You should
Yeah.
be a better partner to me. And
This,
then they get in there and they're like, oh,
oh,
what about me?
yeah. Oh,
How am
team
I
dynamics.
contributing?
Oh, my team sucks. I need to, oh,
Yeah, and you're like,
shoot.
okay, who's the teammate and the leader? Hello.
Yeah. 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 So it's surprising, you think you're often going for that thing, and then often it's a mirror, it's a reflector, right? It's helping you see and discover something that's either in your way or is hidden from your view. And some people aren't up for this immersion in these workshops and these camps and things and stuff like that. And then coaching is good for that, right? Or one-on-one, whether it's a therapist, one-on-one coaching, working with someone with some somatic practices or,
Mhm.
yoga practices and breath work things can be illuminating, or an astrology reading or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be that, but I find all of it, like I take in many forms of personal growth, right?
Mhm. I believe a lot in reading, and I give a lot of people books, and I share books a lot. Like I literally buy books for people and gift them out and stuff like that if it's
Mhm.
been something that I think is real
Yeah.
powerful or
Yeah.
relevant to our conversations or coaching or whatever might be going on. Because that gives them time, especially if they're new to this personal growth, personal development work, to just be by themselves in their
Mhm.
own private thoughts and time and energy and space and slowly
Mhm.
start to digest and open up their brain and emotions to this. And then that usually leads to like next levels, like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think I would say, because I've had this many years of doing this, that um so I was doing Landmark Forum, and I think I did maybe like one a year or something. There's definitely, and then I saw out of my stepping into the work with T. Harv Eker and the Peak Potentials training, and I did 4 to 6 a year, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, and what was beautiful, at first I was like, that seems like a lot, but I had the time and I had the funds, and I was like, I just the materials and when the timing of the classes was, I was like, I don't want to wait until next year. Like I want to take this thing. And what I found, and they shared this as you got to more and more of these, is it's like I'm trying to think of how to describe it so people listening can see it, but I could do like a chart, how like a stock market chart kind of goes up and to the right.
Mhm.
Well, if the stock market chart, if you stretched it out, it would go drop down and then it goes up a little bit. But what I found, and what my experience was, and I've heard from a lot of people that I knew that were doing them more quickly or like ongoing, not just once a year or once every couple of years, is you reach a new peak. You learn so much about yourself. You reach a new peak and a new level and just understanding, and then it kind of wanes. You go back into your life, and then if you have the next thing, it like you get to a new level. So those plateaus, you might say, or the
Mhm.
the, the little dips that you might take going back into everyday reality, like your rebound faster and
Mhm.
higher than
Mhm.
if you stretch it out. And so I find myself, like last year, I was like, I got to get into a workshop. Like I gotta get some personal growth going on. Like I
Mhm.
just know
Hungry.
yeah, like it's like you with the training and stuff.
And it's
If
the
you're in,
same concept,
yeah, if you're in
right?
training, you feel like you
Mhm.
want to do the next thing. Oh yeah, I can't wait for the next event in 3 months or something like that. If you stop, it's like you notice your body just doesn't feel as strong or fit, or you're not taking as good care of it because you're not conditioning as much.
But when you get back at it relatively quick, even if I take a couple weeks or a month or sometimes a bigger block off, and then
Yeah.
I get back into it, sure, I've lost some fitness, I've lost some strength or endurance or whatever the thing was, but it comes back pretty damn quick. And
Yeah.
what comes back immediately is the psychological benefits and rewards.
Oh,
And then the physical body starts to adapt pretty quickly. You know, I'm back at CrossFit, and I was just saying to one of my, teammates today at CrossFit, like, the biggest win for this sport for us as middle-aged and advanced women is the mental training
mm,
that
yeah,
is delivering the mental health. Yes,
yeah.
of course, we're fit and strong and doing all this cool stuff. We're kicking ass and taking names relative to
Mhm,
other females in our age group, but the
mhm.
mental gains, dang,
Yeah.
right? And so this work is the same, what you're saying. Like, I feel like
Mhm,
it's a training cycle. When you're talking about it, it's
mhm.
similar to body work or physical work. You leave it for a period of time, you go back into the quote unquote real world, which that's a whole conversation, but anyway. And maybe we go back to some of our old stinking thinking or behaviors or habits or get around the same people or whatever. And quickly we're like, oh, yeah, that just doesn't work for me anymore. I'm not the
Yeah,
same person.
right.
I'm up here and I'm
Yeah,
going this way. I'm
yeah,
not going that way.
yeah. New
Right.
standards.
Mm-hmm.
New
100%.
new stand, and you feel the offness of it. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
dip back down. Like,
Oh,
like it's hard for you to just like lazy around, take a walk or something. You're like, no, I want to get up to something. I want to get on a mountain. I want to get on my bike and like feel it, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like, I mean, definitely in the years of starting personal growth, I noticed my friendships changed, just
Oh,
the
yeah.
conversations I was into and up to and excited about. And if people weren't wanting to share their big dreams and goals and what are you getting up to, you get new friends. Great. Like
Exactly.
take the
Exactly.
take the peak of the crop with you, and they'll up level you as well, right?
So you're back at Landmark.
Yes, yes.
Wow, full circle moment.
I know. I know. I feel like a little
Did they
elder.
say, welcome back?
I know. A little elder moment. I'm like, oh, look at
After
me.
50, it looks a little different inside there,
Yeah,
maybe. Hmm?
it's really so I just finished there's a two-part communication course that I'm taking. So, or
Okay.
you could take just one, but in order to take the second one, which I'm most excited about, you have to take the first one. So the first one's called Communication, Access to Power, and the
Okay.
second one is Communication, Power to Create.
Ooh.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
share more about that after I take it. So this coming weekend, actually, I'm doing the second part. So that's the Power to Create, and really I feel, and I think you would agree, in our 50s, it's like, what are we up to? Like we are
Oh.
creating this, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so much of our life is in our language, right? And if we can combine the ability, like you said, we get this emotional and mental surge of like capacity, like, oh, you feel so good coming out of the gym, and yet if you don't have the language or the words or like how to create in your life, it can fall flat, or you're like, oh, I'm not getting up to stuff, or I don't know what to do, or whatever. So I'm looking forward to how they contextualize like the power to create through language. Like you can, with words you can create so much. You can create people in your life. We can
Mm-hmm.
say, I see you as this, right? You can uplift people. We know this as coaches, right?
Totally. Words are incredibly powerful. They're art, but they are definitely connection and self-expression.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And their way
So,
we understand the world and each other.
and there's so many, and I would say find your jam, So
Mm-hmm.
Landmark, um, it comes into my listening in a way that just it works for me. Tony Robbins clicked for me. Not doesn't click for everybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I couldn't go sit in 400 hours of yoga training. I wouldn't be up for that. Like it just doesn't, maybe later or maybe another time, but that just doesn't appeal to me, right? So find what when someone says it or you hear the content, or
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have YouTube videos and things like that, like get a taste of it. And if it's like, oh, I want to hear more about this, or oh, I want like that's how I got into my whole world of Abraham Hicks, the whole Abraham Hicks videos 10, 15 years ago as well. And I'm just an addict. I'm an absolute card carrying
binge
member.
binge watching those, and people are like, "What is she?"
Was
You
it?
know,
Yeah.
they're watching some reality TV show, and you're binge
And
watching him.
it's a beautiful way to stay in the
Uh,
conversation, you know,
oh yeah,
whoever you're, and these
yeah.
podcasts, like some of your favorite podcasts, like who do you listen to get inspiration and growth and stuff? Where are your sources?
Well, so much of mine right now is really around health and wellness and the brain and different
Yeah.
things of that nature, not so much personal development and growth. But I'm fascinated in Buddhism, and I've been studying that the last couple of years. Not like hardcore, but just little bits. And
Yeah.
so I've gone down a few of those rabbit holes and
Yeah.
followed those strings. So I was mentioning, I'm going to go meet a nun at a monastery over the hill. But basically, I found her books and
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast. So it's not that I'm going to become a Buddhist and I'm studying religion, even though I am curious about humans. And that is
Mhm.
one of the religions of the world that most resonates with who I am, the type of person I am. But it's really just a fascination for understanding all of
Mm.
this, like humans in history and understanding how we're
Mhm.
evolving now and how to really
Mhm.
create more good in the world. And,
Mm.
there isn't a lot of places in terms of studying history or religion where you find that,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I found that. But really, for me, it is just constantly being curious. That's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And a little bit of the hunger, like what you were mentioning too, of wanting to understand myself better, know myself better,
Mhm.
and understand others and how I relate to the world. Like, why am I the kind of person that I am? What makes me tick? What makes me feel happy, sad? What makes me feel strong, weak? Like, what are the different things that
Mhm.
influence me as I'm humaning, propelling myself through this lifetime so
Mm.
quickly? And how can
Mhm.
I continue to invest or double down on the good stuff?
Yeah.
Right. And if I don't know myself and I don't invest time and energy in that, that's just not going to magically happen,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think what personal development gives me is I see the ways or the places where I'm still growing, right? Like I
Hmm.
see because I have a breakdown in something in my life, right?
Hmm.
Like, oh, this area is not high functioning. This area is not flow. This area doesn't feel good, right? And you and I are up to, well, damn it, don't just live with that. Like, okay,
Exactly. We
it's like,
deserve better.
yeah. And if I take ultimate self-responsibility, Jocko, it's
100%.
like, okay, I'm responsible for whatever I'm creating. Either I have something in the way, a limiting belief, an old story, a
Hmm.
judgment, something like that, or just poor communication. Like I'm not able to convey what I want to have, or this needs to not be in my life. Maybe I need to make a choice, and the choice I've been making is out of insecurity or lack or scarcity or something or fear. If I let that go, then this thing comes out of my life, and what do I make space for? Like I go
Hmm.
in the direction towards things that feel good, right?
Hmm.
So,
And sometimes you have to do the work of unpacking that stuff. Like I was studying for quite a while, Dr. Gabor Mate and his work
yeah,
on
so
trauma. Oh
good.
my God, if people haven't discovered him on, either his books, which that's how I first found him, or any interview or anything. And he's in his 80s now. So if you don't know his work or him, you should immediately look up Dr. Gabor Mate because he's freaking brilliant and he's just
Yeah,
changing or has changed the whole conversation around addiction in particular,
yeah,
but for sure trauma and trauma
yeah,
work and healing. But
yeah.
just, if we are behaving, acting, operating in a certain way, and there is some suffering, emotional, physical, spiritual, however you're experiencing that,
Mhm.
don't you sure the hell want to know why?
Yeah,
And wouldn't you like it to be different?
yeah.
So I'm not saying that things haven't happened to people and, there isn't some impact there. Of course, we all have our stuff, but the empowerment piece of that is taking back your own life and
Mm.
experiencing or creating an experience moving forward that can be different, that is different, that will be different, and making that decision.
And I think it's similar to if you have an underlying disease or ailment
Hmm.
and you don't treat it or you don't work on it, you don't get to the root of it, you don't want to
It's like
improve
you're
that. Yeah.
diagnosed with X and you just go, well,
Got X.
I guess the party's over. No,
Yeah.
you're going to be living with X
Right.
and it will compound itself upon you
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
take no action.
Yeah. Or you take these, little medicines that
Traumas
just
are the same. Hmm.
treat symptoms, and so I think personal development work is as helpful as disease diagnosis and curing,
Mm,
not just
mm,
symptoms, symptom navigating, right? But you actually get to the cure of fears and traumas and, angst or whatever's underneath your emotional self locked in your mind in terms of limiting beliefs. It's like pulling out the weeds and like clearing your garden, right? You're
That's the definition. You just gave the definition, so you have to say it again.
oh,
Because
but
as you were unpacking that, it got away from me a little bit because I was like, it's like a multivitamin. It's like this, and then you just kept going. I was like, that is it.
Mm.
So you likened it to
The garden,
even before that. Somebody
the cure,
discovers
the cure.
a illness, a
Yeah.
disease state, something going on in their physical body. People can all relate to that, either themselves or a loved
Mhm.
one. So this kind of work is like what? A way of taking care of that
Mhm.
emotional body, spiritual body
Mhm. Yeah,
in a
definitely.
proactive way.
Exactly, exactly. And you have, so, one of the things, I don't know why this is a random symptom that's coming out to me, but I see people who have like the varicose veins,
Hmm.
in their legs. They have
Hmm.
like the whatever. And there's not an easy cure for that, but I believe there is. It's like this treatment that you can do to like help your veins and whatnot. Or maybe there's something else underlying it, like what's causing your veins to, s-
Be stressed.
yeah. So don't just look at those veins and go, oh, just got big veins, I guess. Right.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's not something that would necessarily get in your way, a more debilitating, like if you have asthma and you can't climb up a
Diabetes.
diabetes, something or, a stigma, if you've got eye things or whatever, you've got back problems or something, people that don't get chiropractic and chiropractic is available and can help them, that just still shocking to me. But like you just sort of go like, oh, I just start to walk hunched over, or oh, I start to not be able to go upstairs. I guess I don't go upstairs anymore. Whatever it is, it's like,
Hmm.
hold on, right? Now,
Hmm.
certainly there are some limitations at some point, but if things can be cured, work on that. Like, so I'm like, get in there and like find that cure, get to that root cause, in the same
Get
way
to the
with,
root cause.
so the symptoms can show up. You have breakdowns in your life. You don't get the result that you want. You don't feel the way that you want to feel in this thing. You're not self-expressed. You feel limited. You feel stuck. You feel lonely, whatever. If you're not having the feelings in your life,
Hmm.
you're not having the life that you want to feel. Okay, well, what's behind that? What's the cause of that? Well, how could you affect that? You're choosing something
Yeah.
that's leading to that. Like it is a cause and effect world. Often the causes or the causes inside of ourselves, a limiting belief, a story, a fear, can't do it, don't know how to do it, whatever. What if I said
Totally.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, what comes first? I was just having a conversation with a dear friend of mine that has a recent diagnosis, and she is very quickly noticing symptoms exasperating from this recent diagnosis. And I did have to point out to her today, because I've known her for several years, actually, those things that you're talking about, you've always done those things. And also, you're just doing them more now. And
Mm.
this is talking quickly and kind of losing her thoughts and getting worked up. I said, you have so much more stress and anxiety right now because you have a new diagnosis. You don't know what's happening yet, the stage of it, and you're not sure where this is going. So, of course, all of those things would become exasperated. So, is it really the disease is progressing so fast and it's getting away from you? Or is it emotionally and psychologically you're under quite a bit, an enormous amount of stress and anxiety? And so, let's see if we can work through those things as you're
Yeah.
on this journey.
And from an emotional standpoint, when we label ourselves with a disease or a disorder or you name it, physical ailment, um, you put the mind, depending on if you allow it, so like
Hmm.
you would be like, well, I've got that, but so what? He'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
but I'm still going to max my life. I'm still, so depending on
Mhm.
your relationship with that label, that somebody else is saying, right? If you didn't know it, you just would be, manage, let's say, symptoms or whatnot. It's good to have an understanding, an underlying root, if they can define it
Sure.
and work on it, right? And
Yeah,
but
that
not
can
let
be
it,
really empowering,
yeah. I mean,
or it can
people,
be debilitating. How
yeah.
come some people take it and it's empowering, some get it and it's debilitating? Well, if you think about personal development work and personal growth, you said, the disease states, if you will, or the symptomatic is, having more fear, having more anxiety, having more
Mhm.
anger, feeling like things really just are not going well, or you're not really feeling like you, whatever that looks like for the person, right? This type of work is, I mean, it's not like going to the doctor, but it's like going to your own clinic of self
It is.
development, self curiosity, exploration, development,
Yeah.
understanding, and gaining tools to just navigate this yourself. The
Hmm.
ultimate empowerment, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Take your power back, right?
Mhm.
If there's an area of your life that isn't working, don't just sit with that. Don't be okay with that. Okay, what do I need to, is it a book? Is it a class? Is it, where can I go? Right. And, there were times where I was doing workshops that it wasn't even necessarily like, oh, I had a broken thing over there, but I just knew I was going to grow and improve and learn something, I mean, there's people that as I got doing a lot of these, I'd meet people and see them over and over again. They would just sometimes come for one thing.
Mm.
They'd just be looking for that one thing. They're like, I know something in this. Like, there are 30 things they could walk or 300 things they could walk away with. They're like, but if I get one thing and I take it back into my life, they go, totally worth it. Like winning, right? So, what is it that you're not feeling fully expressed in? What are you feeling broken down? And start with something. If it's a book, is the first step you can do. Immersion workshops are amazing. They're not always available at the right time or whatever, but don't just settle. Don't just settle for your life not working. You're feeling bad. Right?
So, can you give us one, two, or three takeaways from just this last
Mm,
weekend's workshop that you
mm,
did?
mm.
Like the big wins?
So it's a little hard. So Landmark uses unique language. So when you're in the class, like they explain the language in a context, you're like, oh, but um, there's something around listening from nothing. Okay. And what that, in a short way of describing that is when you go into a conversation, or I'll use first person. So, like, for example, me with conversations with my mom that I've been having, right? So, if I have a listening from my mom is a victim, my mom always has problems, my mom doesn't love me, whatever, if I have this listening for her that is filtering out or filter, all these, what she's saying has to get through all this filter of she's this way, this always happens, she does this all, whatever. I can't really hear her communication. I'm
Mhm,
hearing the
mhm.
woman that I think I know her to be instead of listening from nothing is pure curiosity. Like today this is a new person. This is, and if I can hold her in that space, I can,
Every time.
yes. And this is a practice. This isn't like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I went in and, it's a practice. And I catch and that's what, as we came out of that, we were practicing being in conversations and communication with people to practice listening from nothing. And it wasn't always 100%. It was like, whew, okay, I had a lot of judgment in that conversation, clearly, and how we notice it is you get a reaction in your body. Because
Mm,
if you're listening from nothing, there's no reaction.
mhm,
There's no
mhm,
reaction, especially, and the other thing is listening with no meaning, right? It's like
mhm. Oh, wow.
words have no meaning, right? Like
So the
it just,
person's just talking and you're like not having an emotional reaction to what did they just say? And how's that going to impact me? And blah, blah,
yes,
blah, bringing up all
yes.
your stuff.
It's so powerful. Like I would say I'm in the kindergarten level of where I can go with this, but I'm up for learning it at like such a rich level because I have seen myself just in the last week since I did the first one, just like noticing it's almost like my voice, inner voice says something and like the filter shows up like meaning like, oh, this person's saying this, or this conversation is going to go this way, or I wonder if, whether it's fear or whatever, meaning, and if I can just go wipe the slate, like the
Mhm.
windshield, just clear the clear the screen and I can hear and see and like take in all the body language of what are they saying now, not through that filter. The ultimate goal, I would say in all my years of coaching and the personal development, I'm like, wow, this is some, excuse me, fucking graduate level stuff because
Mm,
in all the work that I've done and coached in before is how to manage in a body, like we talk about emotional mastery, because we're triggered. We get a response. We're like, "Ugh," right? This is like before that,
before that happens. Mm-hmm.
before that, like not even letting those things trigger you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's some ninja shit right there. It's like, damn. So like being so present to meaning, 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 mind's making meaning in this conversation. I'm listening through, I'm filtering through and just keep clearing the screen and going, what is this person saying? How can I listen? And you said what are three things? So I'd say the other thing that and not every conversation you necessarily want to do this, but I would say a lot of them, because a lot of I don't know what percentage of our conversations are quote meaningful or like people that we care about, and ones are just like talking to a cab driver, whatever. Not that you can't have meaning with and affinity with a cab driver, but really the course is keeping relationships that have affinity and love in them, keeping the love and affinity in them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so the idea I got, they said, in communication, it's creating oneness.
Mm,
So how do I hold the space of communication with this person in the space of oneness so that it's almost like the context around everything. And I know I'm not supposed to have meaning or whatnot, but this has been helpful for me because in the space of wanting love and affinity to be present in my communications with people, if I can say, how do I stay in oneness with this person? Even if we disagree, even if the things aren't, like they're saying something and I'm like, that's not true, or I see it differently, or whatever. But if I hold the space of oneness with this person, I will be different in my interactions.
mm. I was thinking of the word wholeness when you were describing it, like keeping the whole
Oh,
to the
yeah,
communication and to the relationship, keeping it whole rather than letting it splinter in pieces.
exactly.
Oneness, I think, because so many people, again, this is
Yeah,
stories,
that could
but
be a little, yeah.
so many people, including me,
Yeah,
because we have stories about
yeah,
how different that person is, comparison, judgment, how they might be judging us, whatever, whatever. It's hard to embrace that oneness concept, but I could very easily get to the wholeness
oh,
of this relationship
nice.
and the integrity of it staying whole rather than splintered, even though
Yeah,
they could be completely opposite to me in views and in
yeah.
lifestyle and in whatever, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's, one of the things that we worked on in the beginning in this course was cleaning up places where, as we did in our recent episode about incomplete or not clear, right? And so
Yeah.
when you say incomplete, it's not whole. Like that's part of it is there's like Swiss cheese instead of a whole piece of cheese. So like you said, if you have the intention, if you hold the space of my communications are held in a place of wholeness, when there is a breakdown, like you work on it. You don't just like go to bed angry or, run out of the room. You might have to calm yourself down if you're not coming from a place of nothing, right?
Hmm.
It'll still happen. It's practice, but seeing the communication and the relationship as a whole relationship, how do I maintain that? You will go back to, like do I need to apologize? Do I need
Hmm.
to forgive something? Do I need to say something or hear something in a different way? Like, you know what? I cut you off. Can you tell me more about that thing? I really want to understand where you're coming from. Whatever the thing is, in the context of wholeness, communication has a, a different channel to go down, right?
Oh, yeah. And this is just one workshop as one very tiny example of
Mm,
the personal development, personal growth work that you've done.
mm,
This
mm,
is what you're currently up to now
mm, mm, mm.
in the present.
It's funny as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, that was one. And I was like, this is a distinction. These three things that I just shared are they're like distinctions. I can remember saying, I feel like I have a virtual tool belt,
Okay.
call it a mental belt, whatever, like a tool belt. Like I carry with me tools in my life, some that I've integrated, like I am different, like there, or you might say like the chips, the DNA have been shifted inside of me because
Mm,
I've pulled in that integration, I've used it, I've practiced it, right? Like I don't do things like the way I used to do. They're part
mhm,
of
mhm,
the way that I be now, who I am in the world, right? And so tool belt might be one way. That's maybe some of the practical ways, like in the communication. But I come from a place now of whole and complete communication instead of splintered or listening through and filtering and stuff like that. And it's amazing how, it's always easier to see other people in their lack of communication than ourselves. But it was fascinating. In this course, I had to go I was out in the world. I saw three people having an interaction and like everybody was just talking over each other. I was like, damn, there is no communicate. Like, no.
one of my pet.
Totally.
Isn't it fascinating how you have this different lens now? That's so interesting when you were describing it, and we were kind of like retrospect looking back on this is one of the bodies of work you're currently in, all under this giant
Mhm.
umbrella called personal development or personal growth work. I got this, snapshot analogy of it's like when you decide to pick up that book or take that course or integrate yourself into an immersion program or sign up for a continued course or whatever. When you're doing the work, however you want to be doing the work, it's almost like how I feel about when you are in a race, that it's going to be very taxing mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you're at the starting line and you really don't know at all what's going to happen, but you think you do. You absolutely. I've trained, I'm prepared. I know because
I
this is
know
how
the
it's going to go.
course.
This is what's
Yeah.
going to go. Looked at all the things. I got friends. They got spreadsheets. I'm going to be
7 minute
facing a friend of
miles
mine in
or
a couple months at this big ultra, and he's got these spreadsheets and all these tabs, and I love it. I love it. I love it. But you are kidding yourself. You don't know what
yeah.
the hell is going to happen, and that's the same with this kind of work. You start with this intention
Yeah.
that I'm going to get something out of it.
Mhm.
You're open to that. Obviously, that's why you showed the hell up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's going to happen along that journey? And then when you
Mhm.
come out the other side, you are
Mhm.
forever changed and you are forever changed. Never, ever the same
Mhm.
person when you cross that finish line, or in this case, finish those courses, because so much is
Mhm.
going to happen in that small capsule of time. So much personal growth, mental,
Mhm.
physical, spiritual growth.
Mhm.
You have no idea. And that to me is the most exciting part of it,
Mhm.
that you don't know. You don't
Yeah.
go in there going, I'm here to heal
Yeah.
my relationship with my mother. And that's what we're doing here. And this is what I'm going to focus on. What in the hell? You don't know what's going to, right?
Yeah. You meet a different version of you at the
You
other
meet a
side.
different version of you, a better version
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've talked about this before, but one of my favorite words or metaphors in personal development is perturbation.
What is it?
So
Perturbation.
perturbation is the pressure that causes coal to transmute into diamonds.
Oh,
And it can't go back, right? It's a chemical process. So perturbation is under pressure. You turn something with all these chemicals called coal, looks in one state, and then it turns into a diamond, right? And so I oftentimes saw myself like walking in like a charred piece of coal. I'm like
totally.
sloughing, and you can see it too. Like, no freaking kidding. I volunteered for enough classes
Having off
and
black smoke,
I have
stinking up
been,
the
and
room.
people walk in like disheveled faces, like, what am I going to do here? Or fear, like, oh God, what's going to happen or whatever. And by the end of it, radiant. I mean, just like arms stretched out, hugging people, like the final day, they're just like, just it's
Mm.
transformative. It's the diamond comes out of the coal in those days, weeks, whatever the work is, and
Mhm.
it's so worth it. It's so worth it to shine that diamond every time you go in and like go, yes, I'm going to shine and take that back into your life and the people around you. So,
I love it. I can't wait for us to do the next episode after this next
mm,
course
yes.
and see how you are implementing all of these learnings, lessons, and growth. And then what's this next chapter look like?
And I will share
Ooh,
the happy breakthroughs and the crappy breakdowns, because the breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. And you know what? It's a practice. It's a practice. It's a
It's
growth.
all part of it.
Yeah. And I just want to invite, the one thing is,
It's the one thing.
yeah, if you have an interest in something, go immerse yourself in it. Like really lean into it. Lean into the you that you could be on the other side of it. Because if it's interesting to you, or if it scares you, like there was, you in these races, things that you've invited me to, I'm like, doing what? But then you do them and you're like, I met another version of myself on the other side. Like there's a version of you that is screaming, yelling, jumping up and down, can't wait for you to come across that finish line, or whatever that looks like. And maybe it's not just in a book. Maybe it's not just an audio. Maybe it's not just something you take online. Maybe you go and immerse yourself for a change, take a risk and try that 5K, that 20, go for the bigger miles or whatever it is, or an in-person thing, or something you're like, I
Mhm.
can't believe I'm signing up for this, or this sounds amazing. And do it. Invest in you and see what
Mhm.
happens. And let us know. Let us know.
Show up in person. Take the
Mm.
next step with wherever you're at. If you're already somebody reading the books,
Mhm.
then maybe an in-person is what's next. If you're already somebody listening to the podcast, then maybe an in-person is what's next,
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's one-on-one work, maybe it's big group work, immersion programs, whatever. Take the next step. I'd say for me, that's my one thing to leave them with
Yeah.
today.
And be bold. Like, these courses, you gotta just do it. Like, all right, putting the money down. I can't believe I'm doing this, and the bigger the check, usually the bigger the payoff. I tell you, like, because you go in there, you go, I'm gonna get some value out of this, and you do, so
Mhm.
write a check, like put the money down, like go
Mhm.
to that thing, and you'd be darn tootin' amazed what comes out.
Hell yeah, lady. This
So
is
good.
good.
Yeah, what do you
Thanks
want to
for all of
remind?
that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope people have gotten some value out of this, and reach out to us. Let us know like what you do, or how can we support you, or do you have any questions about any of these and you want to go deeper dive? We'd be happy to share about them as well.
Mhm.
So,
Because
what do
how
you,
your life feels is more important than how it looks.
and every day is your opportunity to find your awesome. Damn it.